Alright, put your pencils down, guys. Do not copy off of me. Learn how to do it, but then make sure you go back and do these problems by yourself. This video is about how to graph ellipses when the center is not the origin, not 0, 0. Actually, it'll be kind of a mixture, but that's the main idea. Alright, again, pencils and pens down. Alright, we are supposed to find the foci of this ellipse. Well, the foci come from the C value, okay? Now, we will get our A and our B from these numbers right here. So 25, that's A squared. So that means A is 5. 9 is our B squared. That means 3 is equal to B. Alright, that's just good to know. A is always the bigger one when we're dealing with ellipses. But if I want to talk about my C value, I have to use the formula that C squared is equal to A squared minus B squared. That means C squared is equal to 25 minus 9. So C squared is equal to 16. So C is equal to 4 because I took the square root. Alright, so now I've got A, B, and C, but it's the C value that I'm going to use to find the foci. Okay? Now, remember that when we're dealing with an ellipse, okay, we might have an ellipse that's stretched out horizontally like this, or it might be vertical like this. Okay, so look at this equation. Is this going to be a vertical ellipse or a horizontal ellipse? Well, since the bigger number is with the x value, that means this is going to be a horizontal ellipse like this. Okay, it'll be stretched out in the x direction. So when you look at this, you should be thinking, okay, you know, my x-axis is going to be like that, and my y-axis is going to be like this. Okay, and so my C value. So look, part of what I'm saying is you see the x squared and the y squared. That tells you that the center is 0, 0. Alright, that's important. So for this particular problem, x squared, y squared, the center is 0, 0. So if I want the foci, I'm going to use the C value. And the foci will always go the long way, okay, along the major axis. And now I know I need to go 4. So I need to go 4 to the right, and I need to go 4 to the left. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, kabam. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, kabam. Okay, so that means the foci are going to be negative, looking at this one right here, that's going to be negative 4, 0. And looking at this one right here, that's going to be positive 4, 0. Alright, so these are the foci. Some people say foci. Alright, that's it for number 1. Now, write the standard form of each ellipse and find the coordinates of the stuff, center, vertices, co-vertices, and foci. So like normal, okay? We will have to complete the square to get this done. So let's combine our x terms, okay, and our y terms. So let's group them together. So our x terms are 16 x squared, all right, plus 32x. All right, leave a space. Actually, I don't need to leave space just yet. My y terms are 4y squared and negative 8y. Okay, and that is going to equal 44. So you have to be careful because we do not immediately do half of the middle squared right now. We're not going to take half of this and get 16 and then square that and whatever that is. Because when you have a number in the front, the 16, the 4, you have to factor that out. So this is going to become 16, and I'm going to have a parentheses. Okay, same thing with the 4. Got to pull that out. So I'm going to have a 4 and then a parentheses equals 44. Now on the inside, all right, remember if I'm pulling out 16, that means as far as what goes in here, I'm dividing by 16. So in here, I'm going to have x squared plus 2x. Okay, and here I'm dividing everything by 4 really. Okay, so that's going to give me y squared minus 2y. Now I complete the square, but I must be very, very careful. If I take half of 2, I get 1. 1 squared is 1. Now normally I would say, alright, we added 1 over here, we have to add 1 over here as well. But no. I do need to add something over here, but it's not 1. The reason is because of the 16 in front of the parentheses. Because of that, adding 1 right here, it doesn't really have a value of 1. It's really 16 times 1 if you were to do the distributive property. Okay? So I'm not really adding a 1. 16 times 1 is 16. So by putting a 1 here, I'm really adding 16. So to balance that out, I need to add 16 to the other side. Similarly, half of 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1. But again, I'm not going to put plus 1 on the other side. It's really 4 times 1, which is 4. So I need to add 4 to the other side to balance that out. That's the tricky part. Okay, now I can go on and factor this. So this would become, now the point of completing the square, like we did with the 1, is this should factor as the same thing twice. So as I begin to do it, I think, okay, this will be x plus 1 times x plus 1. But I'll just put x plus 1 squared. And then here I'm thinking, okay, this would be y minus 1 times y minus 1. So again, I'll just put y minus 1 squared. Now if you add up these three numbers, you get 64. Okay? Now, the model for an ellipse always has equals 1 in the standard form equation. So this 64 has to become a 1 somehow. So of course I'm going to get that by dividing by 64. But I have to do that everywhere. Everywhere? Everywhere. So I'm dividing everything by 64. Now let's see, 16 into 64. Okay, 64 divided by 16. Whoa. Okay, 16 goes into 64 4 times. Alright, so that means if I reduce this fraction, this is going to become a 4. Alright, how many times does 4 go into 64? "16 times, of course. Okay, so this is going to become x plus 1 squared. Alright, that's bad. X plus 1 squared over 4 plus y minus 1 squared over 16 equals 1. Okay, so this is our equation. Now from that we should be able to find all the other stuff. Now I feel like it would have been nice if we had been provided some graph paper on this particular assignment, but we weren't. So I could do this by hand and make a bootleg sketch, but for instructional purposes, so everyone can understand what I'm doing, I went ahead and cut and pasted a graph on here so it will be clear. But as far as what you do, you're just going to have to sketch a graph by hand as best you can. All right. Now, so first of all, the center. The center is going to be the opposite of this, opposite of that. So that's going to be -1, 1. There's your center. Okay. Now, we've got our a squared, our a squared and our b squared. So a is 4, okay, based on the a squared, and b is 2. Okay, this 4 tells me where to go. This is with the y value, so this 4 will be up and down. Okay, so if I go up 4, down 4. Okay, those are the vertices, all right? That's the bigger number, so that's going to give us the vertices. Which are -1, -3. And -1, 5. Okay, now let's find the co-vertices. That'll be the b value, so that'll be 2, and this is with the x value, so we'll go left and right. Alright, so 2 to the right, 2 to the left. Okay, and so that's, let's see, -3, 1. Alright, so I'm doing co-vertices. Alright, so that's -3, 1, and 1, 1. So we got all that so far. Last but not least, we need the foci. Alright, to get the foci, we need the c value. Okay, so look, we know that c squared is equal to a squared, which is 16, minus b squared, which is 4. Okay, that tells me that c squared is equal to 12. So if I take the square root of both sides, okay, I get that c equals the square root of 12. But that's going to be 2 radical 3. I just had to check to be 100% sure. So that is our c value. Now for graphing purposes, I'm going to find out what the decimal version of this is. So 2 radical 3 is approximately 3.5. It's very close to 3.5. All right, I will not be allowed to use decimals when I list what the foci are. But as far as visually, I know that the foci have to go the long way, okay, which in this case is vertically. So this 3.5 means I'm going to go up 3.5 and down 3.5 from the center. So up 3.5 would be like here, down 3.5 would be here. All right, notice that the x value is simple. The x value for both of these points is -1. They're both 1 to the left. So it's just the y values we have to worry about a little bit. So this top focus is the point -1, comma, and you'll see because I went up 3.5 from 1, I'm actually up here at 4.5. Okay, but I'm not allowed to put 4.5. Okay, that's no good. Understand that if I had put 4.5, what I was really doing is we started at a level of 1, and then I'm adding the C value, adding the 3.5. That's what I was really doing, starting from 1 and adding 3.5. Well, we can do that same thing, but just deal with radical form. So we're still starting at 1, and we're still going up, but we'll say we're going up 2 radical 3. So just instead of putting the 3.5, do 1 plus 2 radical 3. Alright, notice that's the same thing as 3.5, right? 1 plus 2 radical 3. Alright, that's still the 4.5 that we were talking about. Okay, so that's one focus. Let's do the other one. Well, guess what? Once again, we start from a level of 1, but this time we're going down C. Alright, so it's going to be the same thing, starting with a x value of -1. It's still left 1. But the y value starts from 1, but because we're going down, I'm going to subtract 2 radical 3. Okay, so that was the tricky part, you guys. This is what I want to see for the foci. -1, comma, 1 plus 2 radical 3, and -1, comma, 1 minus 2 radical 3. You may have to watch that part of the video a couple of times. Alright, number 3 is very similar to number 2. Alright, pencils down, no pens either. So first I'm going to group together my x's. So 4x squared minus 16x. And then I'm going to group together my y's. So plus 9y squared plus 18y equals 11. So now we must complete the square, but be careful. Both of these have a number in front, so we're going to have to pull that out, factor it out. So this will be 4, and then x squared minus 4x, close the parentheses. This one we have to pull out that 9, so this will be 9, and then y squared plus 2y equals 11. Where are these numbers coming from? You can think of it as division if it helps. Once you know that we're pulling out the 4, then really it's like you're dividing by 4. Okay, 16 divided by 4 is 4. Same thing here. Once you see that you're pulling out the 9, you can think of it as dividing by 9. And 18 divided by 9 is 2. Anyway, now we will complete the square. Half of 4 is 2. 2 squared is 4. Now, instead of adding a 4 over here to balance it out, really this is not a 4. This has a value of 4 times 4 because of the number in front. So I actually must add a 16 to balance out this 4 times 4. Okay, over here, half of 2 is 1. 1 squared is still 1. But the value is not 1. It's really 9 times 1. So I have to add a 9 over here to balance this out. Okay, now pulling things together here. Here I've got 4 times, okay, and this is going to factor as x minus 2 squared. And then I'll have 9, and then I'll have y plus 1 squared. Okay, putting all these together, we are going to get 36. Okay, now once again in standard form, an ellipse is going to have a 1 over here. So I'm just going to divide everything by 36. Okay, so 4 goes into 36 9 times. So this is going to give me x minus 2 squared over 9, y plus 1 squared over 4 for the same reason. 9 goes into 36 4 times. And then, of course, equals 1. So this is the equation that we're using. Now, as far as all the stuff, let's start with the center. The center is the opposite of these, so 2 comma negative 1. And I say we graph that. 2 comma negative 1 is right there. That's the center. Okay, now you see we're going to have an a value of 3 and a b value of 2. So this a value, that's going to give me the vertex, the vertices. Notice it's with the x's, so I will go 3 to the left and right from the center. So that's going to put me here and here. So right away, those are the vertices. So okay, and that's the point negative 1 comma negative 1 and 5 comma negative 1. Alright, now the co-vertices will come from the 2. That's with the y's, so I will go up and down 2. So it'll be here. Okay, so that gives me the co-vertices, which are 2 comma 1 and 2 comma negative 3. Alright, now that just leaves the foci. Okay, the foci, I have A and B, I'm going to need C for that. So I'm shooting for the foci now. Okay, but for the foci, I know that C squared is equal to A squared minus B squared, right? That means C squared is equal to 9 minus 4. Okay, that means C squared is equal to 5. Alright, which means that C is equal to the square root of 5. Okay, which is approximately 2.2. Okay, this tells me where the foci go, right? The foci always go the long way, which in this case is horizontally. So starting from my center, I will go 2.2 to the right, and I will go 2.2 to the left. Okay, so this is going to be 4 point something, and this is going to be negative point something. Okay, now if I were going to use decimals, okay, this value on the right, okay, would start off like this. First of all, the x value of the center is 2. So starting from the 2, I'd have to do 2, and then to move to the right, 2.2, I would do 2 plus 2.2. Okay, and I'd figure that out. Of course, the y value is still negative 1, no matter what. It's down 1. So I'd have that. And of course, that would be 4.2, which looks about right. But you're not allowed to use decimals here in the foci. So remember that the 2.2 came from radical 5. So this point right here would be the point 2 plus radical 5. So guess what the other one's going to be? 2 minus radical 5. comma negative 1. Alright, is that always going to happen? Well, yeah. And it makes sense because here we are at 2. If I want to go to the left, I need to subtract. So 2 minus radical 5. Okay, and that is it for problem number 3.